think we are ready to start. We are a little bit 5 minutes late, but it's to be expected. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Nikos Trentafilou. I'm a senior researcher and software engineer architect here at the University of the Aegean. In the context of ERUA, we are working to build an alliance identity in a self-sovereign manner. This is essentially an identity that students, researchers, staff in general will be able to store in their mobile phones, mobile apps, or cloud devices and gain access to university services in this way. So it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to this second bootcamp for ERUA. And without further ado, I would like to thank you all for being here and present Professor Ioannis Kinias, who will present to us a business plan and business model canvas for development here at this bootcamp. So thank you, Professor Kinias, and welcome.
Thank you so much, dear Dr. Trentafilou. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, dear ERUA hackers. It's a great pleasure for me to be with you, and I'm trying to present you a useful tool for your business concept development. My name is Ioannis Kinias. I'm assistant professor in the University of the Aegean in the Department of Business Administration. And my field of research is entrepreneurship and family business management. And I'm trying to teach entrepreneurship to my students with a more experimental way through real business concept development. I know that you will try to develop your own business concepts in the ERUA hackathon in the next week at Hughes Island. And our goal today is to present and analyze a useful tool, the business model canvas. Many of you maybe know about that. We'll try to highlight the most important issues regarding the business concept development. Let me share my screen and see my screen. Okay. Perfect. Let's start talking about business model canvas. The first thing that we have to think about is your ideas that you will try to transform these ideas into a business concept in the ERUA hackathon. And the first question that we have to answer is any clever idea a possible business? Is there the same potential for any idea to become a business? This is a very crucial question that we have to answer. The first answer is no. Any idea cannot be a sustainable business. And what kind of characteristics must have an idea in order to become a business? First of all, this idea has to cover a specific need or solve a specific problem of part of our population and a part of persons. So the first of all that we have to think about your ideas is what kind of problem or what kind of need your ideas cover. And first of all, you have to identify this problem and to write down in your paper this problem or this need. Okay, you have to make clear the problem. You have to make clear the need. This is the first step. The second step is to find enough people, many people, that want to pay their money in order to buy your idea, in order to cover their need. So it's quite difficult to understand that we need many people that they pay their money in order to buy our idea, and to pay their money for this idea many times over time in order to create a sustainable business. We need many people and many different sales over the time in order to create an effective business for many, many years. So the first question is, what is the problem? The second question is, who want to pay money in order to buy our idea to solve this problem? And how many sales, how many times all these people will pay their money for our idea? If we have clear answers in these three questions, and finally we have a positive balance, then we can say that this idea can become a business. Let's try investigate this process. The process that I'll try to present you is an analysis, a financial analysis that will try to prove the feasibility of your idea. And our tools in this process is the business model canvas and the business plan. In the ERUA hackathon, you will try to develop your own business plan, and of course you will use the business model canvas. The main questions, the three main pillars that you will try to investigate and to give clear answers in the ERUA hackathon is these three main dimensions. First of all, you have to answer about the feasibility of your product or your service. You have to prove that you will make profit over time, as I mentioned earlier. You have to identify the demand that comes from the users, buyers, the customers, and maybe you have to develop your own prototype. Of course, it could be a little bit difficult to develop a prototype just in 2-3 days, but you have to think about it. The second dimension that you have to identify, to investigate, is to understand the industry, the sector. The other enterprises, the other business that create the same value with you. Who others make the same value than you? These similar companies, these similar enterprises creates the sector, creates the micro environment, the micro entrepreneurial environment. And the other main thing that you have to think about is the market. The market is all the potential users of your idea, of service, or your product. So you have two main pools. And the first one, you have to understand your company and all the other similar companies, and therefore to understand the sector. And on the other hand, you have to understand who are the potential user of this product or this service. So all these similar companies, all these similar enterprises produce the same value and have as a goal this pool with all these potential customers. Okay, so you have to describe these two areas with many details. You have to understand all your competitors, the similar companies, and all the potential users, and to identify them. And finally, the third dimension that you have to give answers about the questions is the economic feasibility. Finally, the economic feasibility of your idea. You have to identify your expected incomes, your expected costs, and finally, your expected profits. All these questions are very crucial questions in order to prove that our idea can become a real business. And all these questions can be answered through the business model canvas. So let's try to understand and investigate this tool. This is a view of what I tried to describe earlier. The blue circle is the sector. All the competitors are similar companies than our company. And in the green triangle, you can find the many different potential users of our product or service. All this competitor has as a goal all these potential users. Okay, so we have the relationship between all these similar companies called competition, and the goal is to convince all these potential users to buy our product or our service against to all the other similar products or services, of course. Okay, so the first step in your research and during the hackathon is to identify the blue circle and the green triangle. What kind of similar companies we have and what kind of potential users we have. You have to analyze both these two areas. So let's try investigate the business model canvas. The basic elements of the business model canvas are these 9 frames in this magic table. And let's try to understand how this tool operates. You can see that we have 2 parts, two sides in this table, the right part of the table and the left part of the table. In this right part of the table, you will develop our vision. Okay, what we imagine to offer to our customers. In the left side of this table, you will understand how this value costs. The left side of this table is the more realistic part of the business canvas, and the right side of the canvas is the most emotional part of the canvas. Here we will describe what we want to do, what we imagine to do. And the left side of the canvas, we will describe what realistically can do and how this value costs. Okay. Let's see all these small frames in details. First, we have to do is to analyze this frame in the right side of the business model canvas with the title Customer Segments. In this frame, we have to define who are our potential users, who are our potential customers. First of all, in order to understand all these customers, we have to define what is the need, what is the problem. Let's see an example. Let's define as need that all of us, we want to drink milk every morning in our breakfast. Okay. If the question is how many people want to drink milk every day, the answer could be many people, the majority of people, or whatever. Okay. Yes, but all the people who drink milk covers the same need? No. Let's see. The need that a baby cover with milk is different than the same need for milk in children, and is different with the need that we have, all of us, the adults, is different need in in a football player, for example, or is a different need in elder people that need more calcium in the milk, or in another people that need more protein in the milk, or in another people that need lower fat in the milk. So let's see that under the title, I need milk every day, you can describe, you can present different kind of needs. Need for a baby with many vitamins, need for children, need for adults, need for lower fat, need for protein, need for calcium, need whatever. Or not only needs that can be covered with the ingredients of the milk, but also needs regarding the packaging, regarding the whatever. Okay. So all these segments, the children, the babies, the adults, the parents, with bigger packaging for the families, or for all these different categories are different segments. Right? So we have to understand, first of all, that under the title of the milk, there are many different kind of needs. And after that, we have to decide if we will cover all these different needs. Okay. So first of all, we have to understand these different personas, these different pools, these different segments, a segment of babies, a segment of children, a segment of parents, of adults, our grandparents. Okay. So your first step should be to understand these different personas, to understand the way of life, to understand the habits, to understand the behaviors, to understand the social behavior of all these different parts of our society. And you have to sketch the profile of all these different segments. It's very crucial for the development of your ideas to understand these different potential users and these different, in detail, different potential needs or problems of all these users, and to categorize them into different slots in your paper to create, trying to sketch them. Okay. And the second step is to try to calculate the population for these segments. Okay. Because according to their population, they can offer back to you, back to your business, different kind, different amount of incomes if they will be finally customer to your companies. And you have to understand how many times they will buy these different segments. They will buy your product or your service every day, every week, every month, every year. It's very useful for you to define, identify the frequency of these sales from these different segments of the population. So, yes, I decided to cover all of these needs, and these different needs for milk, and I have many thousands of people, for example, in Greece, between 18 to 45, many thousand from 50 to 70, many thousand from 0 to 5, from 5 to 18, etc. I know all this population, and then I set specific goals for its different segment of the population. Okay, so you have to make clear that you know the potential users, and you have specific, and you know the specific needs of each segment in order to decide in the next step who from these users you will satisfy, what kind of needs you will cover. First of all, you have to identify the needs of these different segments. Okay. Many times, the enterprises are trying to cover the majority of the needs. So they have as a goal the mass production, the mass market. Okay. Other times, decide to satisfy a specific niche market with differentiated needs. It depends on the final decision that you will find in the end of this lecture. Okay, so first of all, in this first frame, you have to understand your market segments. You will find the population, the frequency, and finally, you can possibly calculate approximately the sales, the volume of sales of your product. Okay, to set a goal for these sales. Okay, this is the first one, the first step, the first frame. The second one is the value proposition. Here, you have to decide what kind of value you will offer to your customer segments. Maybe you will decide to cover all the needs, to produce milk for babies, for children, for adults, with protein, with lower fat, I don't know, whatever, in bigger packaging, smaller packets, etc. Okay. Maybe you will decide to cover some of these needs. That for sure you have to understand and to make clear in your papers what value do you offer to your customers, or what problems you will help them to solve. Okay. Your goal is to satisfy your target groups. You will satisfy your target groups through your value proposition. And you have to make clear what kind of value you will offer. Okay. And please write down clear answers. I'll produce a milk for babies. I'll produce a milk for adults. I'll produce a milk with more protein. I'll produce a milk with lower fat. Clear needs and the customer segmentation, clear answers in your value proposition. Okay. The next one. So we described the first frame and the second one. The third one is here, the channels. What kind of channels? Communication channels, distribution channels. Okay, so let's try to understand why channels are important in our analysis. Because your first goal is to present your idea to these potential segments. So in order to find them, you have to find them through specific communication channels. The younger ones, for example, through the social media. The older ones, maybe through other channels, through the advertising and media, newspapers, etc., or other type of advertising. You'll, the next speaker, you'll describe better than me the marketing strategy of your ideas. But in any case, you have to find all these potential users. And for this reason, it's very important to understand the way of life of all these people. The way of life, the day-to-day, the daily life of your university student. All of you wake up every morning, okay? You have different lifestyle, from your breakfast to your lunch, to your dinner, to your music, to your hobbies, okay? So only if someone understands your way of life, then you can communicate with you through specific communication channels in order to advertise the product or service, in order to send you the specific message, in order to convince you to use this product against another product. Okay, so you have to identify all these channels to understand which kind of channels any customer prefer, and to send your message through these channels. Okay, the first step regarding the channels is this one. The second step is to send finally your product or your service to your final customers. What are the distribution channels? Of course, the distribution channels depends on the product or service. Okay, but you have to identify this kind of channels. You can send the product. You can sell the product to any shop. You have to develop real markets where you will sell your products. You are the producer and need the next steps of the value chain, other stakeholders, to move your products to the market. You have to clarify this process, how your product or your service can move to the customers. Okay. And the third step regarding the channels is to how you will be informed that your customers are satisfied. So you have to develop communication channels with your customers, with the users of your service, in order to get feedback from them and in order to understand if these customers are satisfied with your product or service. Because we work hard in order to develop our product, in order to send this product or service to our customers. But this is not the end of the story. We need the feedback from them in order to understand if we've made mistakes and to correct them, if we have to re-engineer, reconstruct the process that produce the service or product in order to become better and better and better. And through this, only through this way, we can have a sustainable enterprise over time. Only if we have satisfied customers. So we need a channel to communicate to them our message and to convince them to use our product. We need another channel to send the product or service to them. And we need a third channel in order to get feedback from them regarding the use of the product or service. Okay, so you have to think about all these channels. This is the third step of the business model canvas. Here. The fourth one is the customer relationships. What kind of relationships you want to develop with your customers? I mean, in some cases, the customers do not have any relationship and any contact with the enterprise that produces a product. For example, there is no relationship, real relationship, from the producer of the milk that you will buy from a supermarket. Okay, there is no relationship. You just go to the supermarket and buy a bottle of milk, and you go to your home and drink it, etc. Okay, and you have any relationship with the producer. In other cases, especially in B2B, business to business cases, there is a contact between the two, the customer and the producer, where the producer tries to convince, tries to sell the product to the customer. And maybe we have specific meetings, maybe have personnel in our companies that trying to convince all these potential users and potential customers and create different kind of relationship with all of them okay, in order to create bigger and bigger sales of our products. And of course, if we have many resources that we try to we have to use in order to convince all these people to use our products, we have bigger costs, of course. Okay. So we have to identify what kind of relationships you need to develop with your customers and how this relationship costs to your company. Okay. So let's see again: customer segments, needs, problems, populations, value propositions, how you can solve the problem and what kind of problem you can solve, all of them, some of them, okay. What kind of channels can you use to communicate with them, and what kind of relationships we have to develop in order to communicate with them and to convince them, okay. And finally, in order to complete the right side of the canvas, we have the revenue streams. The revenue streams refers to how you can make incomes for these customer segments. How do they pay? What value are they really paying for? How would they prefer to pay? Cash, cards. And we have to identify the total revenue for all of this process. How many people, how many sales, the frequency of the sales, and how many sales, and the sales with the price of the product creates the total revenue, the total income of this process. So you have, of course, in the business model canvas, you cannot have a complete realistic amount of euros or dollars with total revenues, but we have to create a clear understanding of what kind of revenues could have from all this process. Okay, this is the right side of the business model canvas. Okay, I repeat once again that this side of the business model canvas presents what we would like to do, what is our vision, what we will imagine to do. Okay, and this is very useful. Okay, here you can say everything you want. Okay, in the left side of the canvas, let's try how you will create this value and how does this value cost. Okay, the first thing that you have to identify is the key resources, and the second one is the key activities. So you have to describe here all the resources, human resources, machines, infrastructures, money, energy, knowledge, whatever resource you need in order to produce the value, the different kind of values. Okay, and what processes, what activities you need in order to produce this value. Okay, so here let's see the slide. You have to describe all the resources, how many personnel, how many infrastructures, machines, or whatever else you need in order to produce this value, these products or these services. So you have to write down all these resources for the operation of your business for a year. We need 3 people in the administration, 10 people in the production line, 2 people, 3 people in our logistics services, or whatever else. And you have to calculate fees, the costs that all these resources creates to your companies. Okay, and of course, what kind of activities? Here you have to is a very important issue, especially in the hackathon. You have to make clear to your to our colleagues that will evaluate these concepts. You have to make clear to them how exactly your business, your enterprise operates, what steps you will follow in order to create the value. Specifically, step 1, step 2, step 3. What is your value chain? And it's very, very important to describe this process. First 1, first 2, step 3, etc. And you have to give answers regarding the processes, not only for the value chain, for the value proposition, but also for the channels, but also for the relationships, but also for the revenue streams. Okay, and all these processes can be described in details in order to convince whoever will evaluate your idea that is a mature idea, that is an idea that can be implemented in your next steps. Okay, so we need to clarify the processes, the activities that you have to follow in order to produce this value. And of course, some of these processes or some of these resources can you look for these resources or activities outside of the business, and some external key partners can offer these activities or these resources to you. You have to mention all these partnerships. Okay, I cannot develop this kind of this part of our product in-house. Okay, you can buy it from another partner outside of the business. So it's up to you if all these resources and the activities belongs to your company, or you can buy some kind of resources or activities outside of the business from some partners. Of course, all these 3 frames create costs. And this is the bad, but also realistic frame of the business model canvas. The resources, costs. The activities create costs. The key partners, where we will buy some kind of activities, of course, create costs. So you have to identify this kind of costs in order to create a clear cost structure of your idea. Yes, you have to, you would like to create many specific values, not one, not two, not three, but many values for all these many different needs, and communicate through many different channels and create many different kind of relationships. Yes, but all these values and all these relationships and all of these channels need different kind of resources, different kind of activities, and different kind of key partners in order to support this different kind of values. So all these different kind of resources, activities, and partners create different kind of costs. So you have to understand that as bigger as your vision, as bigger will be the costs that you will create. And the most important thing in the business concept development is to create a balance between vision, many different values, and the costs that this value creates. And at the end of the time, in order to prove that your idea could be a sustainable business over the time, you have to prove that the incomes are bigger than the costs, and therefore you have a profit for this from this idea. Okay, so you have two different kind of costs. Some costs that are fixed for the beginning of your business, for example, infrastructures, okay, and whatever you can call as investment cost that paid once before the starting point of the business. And you have, on the other hand, the variable costs that depends on the day-to-day operation of your business. Okay, so you need some money to create the business. This is the investment, the initial investment cost. And you need another type of cost for the day-to-day operation of your business. So you have to identify these different kind of costs and to differentiate the infrastructures and whatever that can be investment, and what kind of costs belongs to resources that you will use in your daily operation of the business. Okay, and the goal of any potential entrepreneur is to create a balance between these two opposite sides of the model canvas, and we hope that our incomes should be more than our costs, and therefore the profit would be plus and not minus. And the goal in the business concept and the hackathon, in any competition regarding the entrepreneurship, is to prove that our idea, our concept, can create profit over the time. Then it could be a sustainable business, and of course, then your idea can be a business. If not, if this idea cannot create profits, it's just a good idea, but it cannot be implemented, at least not right now, sorry. Maybe in a different entrepreneurial environment, in a different population, in a different external environment, or with a different internal environment, could be different. But if your calculations create plus at the end of the story, then of course you can continue and you can implement your business idea. Here you can find a video with some more information about the business model canvas. Of course, you can see and you can find many other similar videos in YouTube or in other channels. You can try your own ideas during the ERUA hackathon, of course. My suggestion is, first of all, do your research regarding your potential customers. Understand them, understand the habits, the behaviors, the social life, the day-to-day life, and try to understand them and make calculations regarding the population of this market segments. Try to find what kind of other business make the same with you, create the same value with you, and trying to differentiate your values regarding your competition. But you have, of course, to understand your sector, your competitors. So your first two steps is to understand your potential users and to understand the similar companies with you. Okay, this is the first two steps, the two main research that you have to do during the hackathon. And the third step is to create a process that will produce your product or your service, and to clearly describe this process. Okay, and to describe all the resources, all the activities that included in this value chain, the value chain of your idea. These are the three main elements that our colleagues will evaluate finally in your ideas. Thank you so much for your attention, and I wish all the best to the competition, to your ideas, and thank you so much.
Professor Kinias, thank you very, very much for a very interesting presentation. I would like to add that you should take into very serious account and consideration the presentation of the business model canvas presented now. Because unfortunately, as anyone who has ever conducted business will tell you, without a very strong business plan, nobody will take you seriously. You don't essentially have an idea, you don't have a business, you have nothing if you don't have a very strong business plan. Even with a strong business plan, most of the times, it's not enough. But it is the first step, it is the solid foundation. So please take to heart what you heard and learned today from this excellent presentation. And let's see if you have any questions. Okay, so it seems the presentation, at least I found it very informative, and there is no room for questions. It seems that's great. Okay, so the next presenter is Bill Stathopoulos, who will present to us marketing planning and how all this ties up essentially to your plan to promote your business your business idea in the context of a hackathon, of course. So thank you, Bill, for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Thanks, everyone, and thank you for joining us. So I want to take maybe like 5 minutes at the beginning of the presentation. I have specific notes I want to share with you, but I want to make it as specific as possible and as much as possible tie into what you guys are building right now. So if you want to take like 1 to 2 minutes each to give me like a really quick overview of what you're planning and what your idea is about, and maybe your current marketing or any kind of activities you have in mind, and then we can tie that with what I have and make it as conversational as much as a workshop as it can be, and leave you with some really specific and hands-on things. Who wants to get started? You can raise your hand, comment in the chat. I'll wait. You don't have to be shy with me, by the way. All right. Well, if no one wants to give it a shot, it doesn't matter. We'll go at it anyways, and then feel free to send any questions as you want. So when it comes to marketing and go-to-market, good.
We can go first. Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. Just to have sort of an actual workshop. Sure. I think me and some of my co-students are sort of in the very early stages of just brainstorming this idea of creating sort of a partnership or an app, a program, website to sort of tie the kiosk tourist experience together, sort of like an just tie the entire tourist experience together, creating this reward system. Maybe create a partnership between some of the more popular tourist attractions. So sort of create this program for tourists to attend these different visit these different tourist attractions on kiosks, and then earn up rewards to either maybe get discounts on some nice restaurants, or maybe even make a larger partnership between other Aegean islands. So once you've visited all these tourist attractions and kiosks, and you can make sure the tourists keep coming back and visit the Aegean communities, so you get discounts on tourist attraction on other Aegean islands. So that's where we're at right now. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good starting point. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, of course.
Does anyone want to go next?
Yeah, I'm together with Peter and Michael as well.
Awesome.
That's yeah.
All right, perfect. Then if no one else wants to pitch in, we can just get started right away. So, you know, when putting this together, it's not just marketing, right? And marketing is only a small part of getting the word out. So when we're trying to do marketing or market their product, we have to consider what it is that we're actually trying to do, especially in the context of a hackathon, especially if what we're trying to do is like literally get our feedback and get the first kind of clients, maybe ideally, right? So marketing used to be different things for different people. If you had a big budget, or if you still have a big budget, marketing is one thing. If you don't have a budget and you're a startup, marketing is a really different thing. So I don't want to necessarily give you like a generic talk about like what marketing is or a definition or how to go about it, but I want to discuss specifically what it means to do marketing for a startup business, which is what I've been doing for the last 8 years. I'm not going to do any intro. There's no slides. You can check me out on LinkedIn if you want at the end. So marketing in that sense, and I've been doing this for a while now, for me means go to market. And this is a term you might have heard of before. Essentially, going to market means I have a product or I have an idea. I have something that I want to put out there, literally. Market is, you can think of it as your ideal audience, or the audience of people that you want to reach out to. And then going to market is literally the strategy and the steps you need to take to go to market. In some cases, this includes what we call like the traditional marketing channels, could be running Facebook ads, doing SEO, or anything else like that. But it can also mean other things, like literally going to, you know, a city square and handing out flyers and talking to people who walk by. And the reason I'm saying this is if I just gave you kind of like a blueprint for how to do marketing, it wouldn't work. Because in the initial stage, it's not about how can we scale our campaigns, it's how can we identify whom we have in front of us. And in order to do that, first thing you'll need to start noting down is a formula that I call X, Y, and Z. And I think this is at the core of starting to define your message and your marketing. Based on the one small pitch I've heard, it looks like you have started to articulate this a little bit, but we have to get better at it. So what is the XYZ formula? So it's this sentence: we help X achieve Y through Z. So we help X achieve Y through Z. We help university students become entrepreneurs through a hackathon, through a training, through a program. And it might seem simple, it might seem ridiculous, but trying to get really good at it and trying to distill what is the actual thing that you do, what audience you serve, and how you do that is literally the essence of marketing. And it's the essence of having a go-to-market plan. Obviously, finances matter. You have to have a plan, you have to have a strategy. But if you're not able to articulate exactly whom you're helping and what you're doing to help them, and what's the mechanism you help them with, and how they can get the result that you promised them, you pretty much don't have a message, and you don't have a marketing message. And in the beginning, in the beginning of your journey, this message is gonna suck. Like your original X, Y, and Z formula is just gonna suck. So let me try and teach you and discuss a little bit more around that, and then we can touch on a few different topics that you'd need additionally to that and having a really good message. So I'll create a whiteboard, which is one of my favorite activities in these kind of cases, and I'll share a good example. Has to do with the Aegean Sea. This is a really good coincidence. I've been doing this exact same example that you're going to see for a while now, and it's a really nice coincidence. So let's assume we have someone stranded on an island. Pretend this is an island. This is like a pine tree, and the guy is there by themselves. So we can call this point A. It's the starting point. This is where starting point or current state of our user, of the person we're trying to help, the person we're trying to reach out to. And they're stranded on an Aegean island. It's not a big island. It's actually a really small island. They're there by themselves. They don't have a house or a place to live. They're out of food. They're out of water. So they're in a really tough situation. They're facing a problem. And well, oh, the luck, like opposite of them, about 20 to 30 kilometers away. I don't know what it is in nautical miles, but let's say in a distance where they can see it, is a different island called Mykonos. So they're there stranded on the island, and this is me trying to create a windmill. I hope this works. So they're seeing people on the island, on the other island, and the people are partying. They're having a good time. They have food. They have everything they want, and obviously they want to get there, right? So they're in situation or state A. This is where they currently are at, and they want to get to B, right? So why am I saying all of this? To give you your first realization that no one really talks about when you're trying to go to market and when you're trying to make your product work. For the person who's stranded on the island, point A, which is your customer, this is the customer, and this is what you're promising them, or this is what they want. The customer doesn't really care how they're gonna get there. They don't care if a dolphin picks them up. Pretend this is a dolphin. They don't care if they cut down the pine tree and make a boat to get there. They don't care if Elon Musk sends a rocket and somehow gets them to Mykonos, I guess. I don't know if you'd have to go to space first. They don't really care. And that's the reality of running a business, and that's the reality of trying to create a good marketing message. We end up talking so much about the means to get there, and we end up comparing rockets to ships to dolphins, and we have to get that, and we have to do that, and that has to be part of the message for sure. But the thing is, that's not what people care about. So the person who's stranded on the island, all they care about is what they can get to. Is they care about Mykonos. That's it. Like pretty much like every person who would be in their situation, right? And it might not be Mykonos. It might be a different island. It might be Santorini. I don't know. But they care about where they want to go. So in that kind of sense, what we say is like the product is just a means to get there. Obviously, if I have more than one choices, I'm gonna pick the one that works for me, right? Like if I'm a carpenter, if I have carpenting skills, obviously I'll go with the direction of cutting down the tree and creating a boat. If I'm good with animals, or if I'm a marine biologist by any chance, I'll try to get a dolphin, I don't know, to get me there, right? Or a flying dolphin maybe. Or if I have lots of contacts and have lots of PR contacts, I might try and get Elon Musk, to get me to Mykonos with the rocket. But what I want to say, and like the first thing you have to keep in mind is that the people, your audience, doesn't really care about how they're going to get to B, and also they don't really care about your product. Your product is literally just a means to get there. So that's the first thing. And let's give some context, some more context. So when we're going to do marketing, you obviously need the channels and you need to put things together and you need to run experiments, but this is literally like the first thing. It's how do we articulate point A? How do we make it really specific? How do we make point A really specific? And how are we best able to describe the problem that our customers are facing, that the specific audience that we're choosing to help is facing? And then how can we describe point B, where they want to go? And then lastly, in order to give them, the certainty that we can get you from A to B, we can start discussing the merits of our product or the merits of our solution. So when we start, running with an idea or start creating anything in the world, the first thing we gotta understand and point out to is, okay, is there an audience that has a specific problem that we want to help them solve? The way I think about it and the way I typically say it, and this also helps curb some of my insecurities, is when you're starting your journey, especially if you're young in life, you might not necessarily be fluent in the mechanism that gets people from A to B, right? Even if you have to build a ship, you might not necessarily know exactly how to build a ship. So when you're doing marketing and when you're trying to go to market, essentially what you're saying and what you're doing is an emotional promise and a connection with the user who's in point A, that, hey, I promise that for as long as it takes, I'm going to work my butt off to get you from point A to point B. And I might not have the perfect answer yet, which might be true in many different cases, right? You're running a startup, so chances are the first iteration might fail. But I promise that I'll keep going at it because we both share the same desire to get to point B. And if you're able to have that in mind, and if you're able to work around that, then everything else will fall into place. You'll discover the right channel to help your prospect. You'll be able to work with them, but it has to start with that kind of point. And I know it might sound a bit, too emotional, but you really have to resonate with the user. You really have to dig really deep and identify what is the actual problem that I'm solving. And then next part is like, okay, how do we do that? Is it enough to just run marketing and say, oh, we're offering the best, boat rides from point A to point B? No, that's not enough, because you don't really know your user. So we can't really talk about marketing, before having spoken to the actual users that we want to serve, right? So rule number one, when we're trying to do marketing or sales, because it's the same thing, is we have to be really in touch with the audience that we're trying to serve, the people on point A, the people who are stranded on the island. Many successful startups, became what they are because the founder was part of point A. They were on the stranded island and they wanted to find a solution. And then they were able to productize the solution and offer it to more people. This is literally how I started like 2 of my businesses. Like we were good at serving a specific audience. And then we were like, why don't we do this for other businesses as well? And we started an agency. But in order to do that, you have to talk to your people. You have to talk to the audience you're serving. So first thing in marketing, because we'll now start discussing channels, is how you go to market. And how you go to market, how you go about convincing people to give you a shot and work with you, differs based on the stage of your business. So first month of activities, or even first week of activities, is customer research. It's literally, how can we talk to as many people from our target audience as we can, so that we can make sure that we have their problem right. We understand where they want to go. And this is not something fancy. I don't know if you know it, but we all use Instagram for a specific use case. When it first started, when Kevin Systrom started Instagram, it actually wasn't called Instagram. It was called Bourbon, and it had a really different use case. The use case was sharing, awesome places and activities with people in your circle. It was like map-based. It had a completely different environment. And what happened is like, Kevin Systrom and the Instagram team promised, the Bourbon team promised people that we're going to get you from A to B, But what they actually realized by looking at the analytics on the platform is people actually didn't care about B. It just happened that Bourbon had really good filters for photos. And because back then cameras and phones were just producing ugly images, our photos needed retouching, right? So they noticed that out of everything, out of every place that the boat that was called Bourbon could take people, they were choosing the edit image feature, and they were sharing a lot of images of what they did because Bourbon had really good filters for images. So they were like, okay, that's the core idea. That's what the users want. They don't really want to blindly just share stuff. They want to share, photos that look nice. And that's what Instagram came to be. And that still today remains the main use case. And I'm saying this because, the way they did that is A, they brought people to the app, and B, they listened to their feedback, and they were agile enough to realize that, hey, what we have planned for might not actually be the best use case and use of the app. And they rebranded everything into Instagram, and then, it took off. So talking to your customers is like literally the first thing. So first channel, first way to go to market is talk to your clients. And the second one is tied to what you're selling. So this is where different business models play a big role, right? Because even if you're selling to other businesses or to consumers, this journey still is true. Like I can talk about it and I can describe the marketing and go-to-market process in the exact same purpose. At the end of the day, someone, either a business or an individual or someone working at a business, needs to go somewhere because they have an aspiration, because they have a goal, because they have a pain, because they have a problem, because there's an opportunity in the market. These are all what we call like the triggers. These are what make the current state unbearable, or these are what make the current state, make the user who's in the current state wanting to change. This is the reason why we try to go to the gym, right? This is the reason why we try to exercise. We look at ourselves in the mirror and we're like, I don't like what I see, or I could be looking better, or now with COVID, I can actually work out at home or wherever and use this as an opportunity. So first thing is talk to the user and be really clear about what they want. So how we do that? We do that by picking up the phone and calling people. Or if we want to sell B2B, we go on LinkedIn, find people who belong to our target audience, people whose companies we would want to sell to, and literally reaching out. There's no marketing campaign. There's no amount of money that you can spend that is going to get you the same kind of quality results. Because what I tell people often is like, you run an ad, let's say you have a really big budget, right? And you run ads. What happens if people don't resonate with your message? What happens if the promise from A to B is wrong? What happens if people don't really like it or don't really like the creatives? Well, simply they're not going to click, right? So your ad is just going to go down. You're just going to waste your budget. You're not going to get any feedback. The only way to get real feedback is by actually talking to people. So the first channel and the first set of activities is talking to people and doing things that don't scale. Because talking to people as a founder is not an activity that you'll have to do forever, but it's one of the things that you'll have to do in the beginning. And then obviously, based on your business model, after you've established what we call product market fit, that we have a product that serves a specific market, that market has a specific need, and we're good at fulfilling that need, and we offer features 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's when you can start scaling your market. And that's when you can actually start looking at actual marketing channels, things like advertising, things like copywriting on your landing page, things like SEO, or any other activities you might think about doing. Any questions so far? I know I can run in monologues for really long periods of time, but I do want to address any specific points. Petros, go ahead.
Okay, so I'd like to thank you first of all and foremost, because this was one of the best presentations on marketing I've heard in a long time. And I would like to ask you, this is all excellent if you have an idea, a new idea, and you want to go ahead and introduce it to the market. But I would like to know, if the idea isn't entirely new, how can you introduce competitive edge? Isn't that, I mean, in that case, probably I assume that the customer would care about the means, which is better.
Exactly. Let me see if I won't bring it up. I'll just start drawing again. I'll do my favorite thing. So let's see if I can create a new whiteboard. And this will become a bit specific. Let me try and walk us somewhat quickly or as fast as we can to it. So what you're saying is, one thing to keep in mind is not all ideas are new, right? And we obviously know that there's always been, the mouse was not something Apple invented. They actually stole it from IBM. And before that, like so many innovations that have happened in the digital or the offline space have always had a point of inspiration. Like, we know the saying, like, artists don't copy, they steal, because they actually borrow the idea and they build on top of it. And this has always been true. So, your question is, what happens if you have an existing product and you have an existing product in the market, and then you want to build something better, build a different feature, or have a competitive edge? And this is where innovation takes place, right? So let's take a step back. What we have to define is a metric that's called market awareness. Market awareness is, if let's say our total audience is 100,000 people, on average, how aware are these people of these things, of their problem, of the fact that there is a different type or different types of solutions out there, that there are different products that serve that need, and then at the end, that these products have different features. Let me elaborate. Has anyone ever wondered which brand of Kleenex hand soap or dishwashing soap they're going to buy? Probably not, right? Because it's a product that, in terms of market awareness, we all know what hand soap or dishwashing soap offers. We all know the features, right? So it's really hard to sell a product like that and be competitive and have good profit on a product like that, because there's no innovation and there's nothing new. And you'll see products in that category, biscuits, fast moving consumer goods, as we call them, they're in the supermarket and they're just competing which one has the best space and the best spot on the shelf so that people can buy it. And typically these products are in the 2+1 category, like you buy two, you get one for free, or something like that. So when trying to create innovation, you have to introduce something new. And you have, on the awareness level scale that I mentioned, from like solution aware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and then most aware, you have to go back. Here's a different example. When Apple introduced one of the new features of the iPhone 13, which is the fact that if you're in an emergency, in an emergency situation, let's say you're in the top of a hill and you're stranded there and you don't have reception, and you can call an SOS service through a satellite, and this is something that has not been done before. How did they introduce that? Did they talk about features or did they talk about the price? No, they started with a story of two people being in a tough situation at the top of the mountain. One of them gets hurt, they get injured, and they have to call an ambulance or they have to call a helicopter, and there's no reception, right? So there's a hero that's in a tough situation, that's in point A. They have a problem, they want to get to point B, which is get help, get treatment, and they can't, right? And then Apple introduces the means, and they're like, hey, with this solution, they show you how the feature works, and they walk you through the story, and then finally you see a helicopter coming in. So when discussing that, it's really clear that you've gone back to the ladder, right? And I'm like, okay, this is exceptional. Like, this is a new story. This is a new way to solve this problem. And then they're like, they can charge you $14.99 a month or whatever they want. And they can do that because there's no competing product. There's no competition in the market. So to answer the question a bit more briefly, customers buy when they are aware of what they're buying. And to get someone from unaware to most aware, someone who doesn't know how to pick an electric car, let's say Tesla starts offering electric cars in Greece. It's like, even if I want to buy one, how does it work? Where do I charge it? Is there any charges between Athens and Thessaloniki? What if I want to take it on board a ship and go to the Aegean Sea? Like, is there any charges? Like, am I going to just get stranded again and have to escape one more solution, right? So that education takes time, and that education can create a market leader. So when you're in a situation where you have a product that already has a lot of competition and is already in the market, you have to create a new feature so you can go a bit back in the market awareness kind of level and essentially create a new market. Either solve a need that's really close to the current need of the product, or introduce a new feature that's going to solve the need faster in a less expensive way or in a more efficient way. And this is, for example, the reason why there's so many different brands of, hand wash or dishwashing soaps, or so many different variants of toothpaste. Have you ever wondered that? Like, toothpaste is the best marketing trick. Toothpaste by itself doesn't have any color. We give it color, product people give it color, because we assume that a toothpaste that has, I don't know, white stripes and blue stripes and red stripes is more effective than a toothpaste that looks like plain white. And what they do there is like they introduce different elements. So if you look at Colgate, for example, which is like one of my favorite marketing companies, we now have Colgate with anthrax or whatever it's called, with carbon. It's like you look at the packaging, it's like something black there, and they're showing like an image of carbon, and you're like, what is that? You go back in the market awareness stage and scale. It's no longer just toothpaste; it's toothpaste with carbon. So when you're in that situation, you just have to introduce a new feature. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, completely. Thank you very much.
All right. Any more questions? All right, perfect. Yeah, Hamza has sent a question on the chat. I don't know whether you'll go through it, but my question is that how should we do market research, at least to see how competent the market is and to get to know competitors? And how important is the market research for a startup or an entrepreneur? I think half of what I've been talking about is about market research and has to do with how to do market research. So there are multiple ways to do market research. If you have big money, you can go to a research company and pay them to do the market research for you. That's the easiest kind of solution. I'm going to assume you don't have a big budget and you have to do it yourself. So the way you do market research is you literally, in the simplest kind of ways, make a list of 20, 50, and 100 people that potentially have the problem you're trying to solve, and talk to them. Pick up the phone and talk to them. That's market research. Yes, you can hack it in the sense of running Facebook ads and trying to target the audience that you want, and putting together a list of questions and sending it over to them in a questionnaire, Google form, type form, whatever it might be, and collecting the answers. So yeah, I don't really have like a better answer, because you literally have to go to market by talking to the market. Like if you're trying to sell to ship owners, try and get someone in your network to get you in contact to at least like one ship owner, and then start working through referrals and connecting to people to get an answer and to get in front of the people you want to serve. There's no other way to do that. If you're trying to, especially in the B2B space, you can probably count on referrals. If it's B2C, try and hang out in the places that your ideal customers are. Like if you're trying to target tourists, stand in front of a ship or check the hours that a ship disembarks in a specific location, and go and do a live research with the tourists. If you're trying to serve people who work out at the gym, go to your local gym with like a questionnaire, can be like a flyer or a form, and literally just talk to people. That's as simple as it is. If you have the means, you can always automate that, you can always hire someone else, but at the end of the day, that's what they're going to do. Like, the most basic form of research is, which radio station did you listen to yesterday or this week or this month, right? Have you heard that? Like, how is this research performed, and how do we know the stats about who watches TV or who listens to which radio station? Well, it's literally just people blindly calling phones and asking people these questions, like, which radio station do you remember listening to in the last 30 days? Like, that's how you do market research. One way or another, whether you have an idea or no matter how well your idea is formed, you have to do the tough part of talking to people about it and not being afraid they're going to steal it from you. And these people include your mentors, they include people in the accelerator that you might be on, they include the investors that you might get in front of, they include your friends and family at some point, especially if it's a broader kind of product. They can include anyone that's in a relevant kind of situation. Does that answer the question? No worries. And then literally what you want to ask them is the story I've described. Think about it, like positioning and marketing for a product is literally like putting together a novel for a book. It's like there's a hero, and the hero is going on, and I want you to think about the chart, the graph I created for you, right? The hero is going on about their day, and for some reason I like to think of Don Quixote when I think about like hero, and the hero comes across a problem, right? There's an annoyance in their lives. They get a headache. They're late at work. Their boss wants them to be more efficient or to be better at it, or they want to travel somewhere and they can't find what are the good places to visit or what is a destination that's worth visiting. So the hero comes across a problem. They try different ways to solve the problem based on what they know, and sometimes they might fail. And that's where they're introduced to what we call kind of like the wizard or the magician, who gives them a solution. And this is what we call kind of like the hero journey. And then the hero is happy. They solve their problem because they've gone from A to B. And that's literally how you can describe that. And in the market research, the questions you have to ask is A, establishing the problem, asking multiple questions about the current situation, B, asking them about the method, the means to which they've tried to solve the problem. So you remember the island, this is the problem, right? The current state. So try to identify the current state as best as you can. Is it, age, location, habits, things, anything about their lives that might be helpful. Then try to establish what is the ideal goal? Where do they want to be? And be really specific about it. And especially using the words and the exact language your customers use to describe their problem, your potential customers use to describe their problem, is literally what you're going to use in your actual marketing materials. So you do that, and the first part of the market research is current situation and current state. The next part is ideal situation, dream outcome. And the third part is what activities have you tried in order to solve this problem, right? What is the means? What methods have you tried? And maybe what methods do you prefer? And how much would you value each of the different ways to get there? Because you might go there, you might be able to go from A to B by sea, by just swimming, but it's going to tire you out, and there's chances that a shark might bite you, right? So you might value that at like 0. You don't want to do that, right? Or it might even have negative currency for you, because negative value, because you don't want to do it. You don't want to risk your life. Or there might be a boat, but it has to go through 10 different islands, and it might take 10 days, and you don't want to do that. Even if the boat is the cheapest way, you might not want that. So you want to identify the 3 elements I mentioned: current state and problem, what it is they're facing, where they want to go, and what kind of ways have they tried to solve the problem. And only towards the end of the questionnaire, if you actually have a well-formed idea and you want to get some actual feedback on that, you can say, okay, what if we gave you this kind of solution? And you can present to them like 2 to 3 different variations of your business model and the idea in terms of pricing model. What if we gave you this option, and this option? Which one would you prefer and why? And how much would you be willing to pay for each one of those solutions? So that's how you get from not knowing nothing about your customer to having a really good idea about who they are, where they want to go, and how they want to get there. And how you're going to get there is where you come in, and it's where your products come in. So this was like, really thanks for the question, because it allows me to dive into like one of the other elements that I wanted to touch, which is like, literally, it's like these 3 things, and you're going to hear me like repeating and ranting on about them. Any other questions? I do have some slides I can walk you through, but I really don't want to do that. Because it's not what's going to be the best use of our time. But let's try and do that. And I want to discuss what is called product market fit. So when going in front of an investor, one of the first things that they're going to ask you is, well, maybe not first, but one of the important things they're going to ask you is, how many customers have you gotten so far? And what does your revenue look like? And what's your maybe recurring revenue like? So you're always going to be questioned and tasked with going to market and talking to people and getting some of them to be your clients. And that journey that I described, kind of like executing that, is what we call product market fit. Product market fit is one of the 4 types of fits. You have to get product market fit. Just means the solution that we have, the means to solve the problem, aligns with the user's idea of how they want to solve the problem, and actually works and can get them from A to B, right? And that's what, when you're standing in front of an investor, one of the things they want to understand is, do you have product market fit? So product market fit is a term you're going to hear about a lot, is why we talk about go to market, because it's like, if you can make sure that you have a product, and by product we mean a set of features and a solution with a specific price that helps solve a specific audience's needs, pretty much what we've been talking about the entire time. you're going to have a really easy time raising money and moving along with your idea or your startup, as long as you're able to prove that. So let's kind of like briefly discuss what I call the way to product market fit. So, first slide is stages of growth. It's what I just described. It's when your marketing means different things to different people and companies based on the stage that the company is at. So when you're in the first stages, like in the early stages of your business, you don't want to do marketing. Like, you don't really know what channel works and what doesn't work. You want to work on what we call product market fit. You want to make sure that there's a product with specific features that the market resonates with. And the core metric, and one of the first things you need to keep in mind in terms of metrics, is, of course, user acquisition, but also retention. It's like, if we're trying to solve this problem and we're providing the solution, do people keep using it? Or is it a one-off, they bought maybe by chance and they never use their product again? So it's like, can we create a solution that's also sustainable? A solution that's actually going to repeatably and sustainably produce the same kind of result? And then, in terms of the volume means experimentation. You have to go with at least 2 to 3 different experiments. And when we say experiments and volume, we mean how many different ways you find to go to market. One way might be to offer the product for free and advertise on Google. Another way might be to run Facebook ads. Another way might be to just hire someone to stand at a port and just hand over flies. So when you're in that stage, it doesn't really make sense to try and optimize or try to have like a detailed strategy. It's just a matter of how much and how fast can we experiment with different things, with different ways to go to market. Because, one thing we know is that we don't really know what's going to work. Even if we have a solid idea, and even if we understand, if we do SEO, we can expect this item, we don't really know if it's going to work. Like, the number one thing I always say when someone says, let's do marketing, it's like, let's test every idea we have as fast as possible, because we never know what an idea looks like when it's actually in the market. And, a lot of people over the years, mostly clients, have told me, hey, Facebook ads don't work, Google ads don't work, SEO doesn't work, email marketing doesn't work. It's always like that. And the reason for that is they haven't experimented enough. Is they did a one-off, they tried it once, they thought it didn't work because they didn't do any experimentation on it, they didn't iterate on it, and then they just dropped it. So at the beginning of your journey, you want to focus on that. You want to focus on big new initiatives. You don't want to go in kind of like a macro scale. You just want to, do as many big experiments as possible. In the second phase, which is not where you are yet, and then the third one, I'm going to quickly walk you through them. We're looking at different things. If you're in stage 2 or 3, transition and then growth, you're in a much different stage. You've been able to acquire your first clients. You've been able to see how they go from A to B. You've gotten most likely feedback from the market, and then you're focused on completely different things. You're optimizing both on the macro level, but also doing micro experimentation. Let's say, which ad creative works on Facebook. And you're focused just on trying to scale and standardize what we call the growth engine, the machine that helps you acquire new users. And something I've already talked about is this one. Start with 10 people. Don't try to get everyone as a client. In fact, there's a principle called minimum viable audience. Like, what's the smallest amount of people that we can serve and help their need? When I was talking about an island and a stranded person being there, I didn't talk about it because, I could have said there's an island with 100 people. I didn't say that. I said there's an island with one person, like one individual. So start from one person. Start with a minimum viable audience that you can serve. In Airbnb's case, like we all know Airbnb, right? So, it's a platform that's now even replacing to a lot of extents hotels, or at least supplementing their work. So when Airbnb started, it wasn't really about providing an alternative to hotels. It was literally, there's an event in my city. All the hotels are booked. I have to cross on a couch. Can you help me? And can you host me in your house? And, since we're in the same place, the host would offer airbed, most likely you'd sleep like on an airbed on the floor, and then breakfast the next day. So that literally was the concept. They didn't try to serve everyone, because right now, if you go to Airbnb, I know founders who are actually building extreme experiences for couples close to the desert. Like, you'll see all sorts of different kind of experiments and establishments, from really small and really inexpensive ones to really high-end and expensive ones. But it didn't start like that. It started with airbeds and strangers coming in to live in your home, like a really, really specific audience. And actually, it was really hard for them to convince anyone at that stage that you want to invite a stranger in your house. And right now, the model has shifted, right? It hasn't changed completely, but by starting with a small audience, they were able to identify the parts that work, and then they were able to scale. In their case, for example, one of the growth levers was photos of the apartment looked really crappy, so no one wanted to stay there. So what did they do? They actually hired a professional photographer, for all their New York listings, and they had the professional photographer go to the listings and create high quality photos for the apartments. And that way they were able to entice a lot more people to actually book through Airbnb, because if the place you want to book looks like a crappy hole, you don't want to live there, right? So, but in order to be able to do that, in order to be able to identify that, they had to go to market first. They had to get in front of people, get feedback. Hey, I don't want to stay there because the place looks crap. And then they optimized. But you first have to go to market. You first have to get feedback. And this is especially true. It's like a founder I know of, he runs a sales CRM software, and he made a poll on Facebook, and he was like, how did you get your first 100 customers? Check all channels that you got more than 2% of those. Feel free to add options. And literally the one that everyone picked, it was like contacting personal network. It's like reaching out to people that are in your network, in your neighborhood. And all the other channels that you're going to see, it's like communities. They tapped into existing groups of people who were potentially facing similar problems. That's the other thing you have to have in mind. You don't have to acquire every customer one by one. You can maybe tap into specific communities of people who have or share the same kind of problem. And obviously, there's multiple ways that different businesses, whether online or offline, acquire their customers. That's why it's creating a marketing strategy definitely depends on what you're trying to sell and what your idea is, and where can you create levers. So I'm not gonna do a deep dive on that one, or in terms of selling to B2B customers, but I'm gonna focus on this one. It's like treating your first 100 customers as VIPs. And I talked about doing things that don't scale, and this is one of them. Literally, when you have your first 50 to 100 users, 50 to 100 customers, you literally have to know them by name. You have to be able to know their phone number and call them and get feedback. Because in the beginning of your product being live, it's going to have so many bugs. It's going to have so many problems. It's going to be so inefficient that you want to get as much feedback as you can as fast as possible, so you can fix the product that you have out there and actually have a working solution as fast as possible. Because if you don't, well, customers are going to leave you, right? And, I talked about product market fit. How do we measure product market fit? Literally, the way we measure product market fit is through retention, like through how many people continue using our product. And there's a key question that after you have your MVP live, your minimum viable product, you're going to have to start asking your customers. It's like, if our product disappeared tomorrow, how likely are you to feel sad about it? How likely are you to feel upset about it? That's literally the one question that determines product market fit, or that we use, one of the questions that we use to determine product market fit. And that's how you have to think about it. It's, the customer has to really need your product. It can't just be, oh, it's a nice to have, we're going to create something that maybe you like, maybe you don't. No, it has to be something that offers actual value. You have to start from a problem. You can, obviously you'll start from an industry you like. You'll start from your core strengths. Like my bachelor is in computer science, but I really like marketing, as maybe you can tell. So that's what I'm trying to do. That's the service I'm trying to offer, because I really like helping people in that sense. And also I really like teaching, which is a different part, and which is probably why I'm in front of you, right? So I combine these two things and turn them into something that actually works for me. That's what you have to do. You have to identify a specific problem that people actually want a solution for, ideally one that hasn't been solved before, and give them a different way to solve it. And, obviously I don't want to bore you with this one, but to build a stable business and to be able to grow, having product market fit is not enough. Product market fit is, as we said, it's having a product that responds to the needs of a specific market. There's another 4 types of fits. The second type of fit is product channel fit, right? So if I'm trying to sell something that costs $5 or €5, running Facebook ads in many cases might not work, because the cost to acquire a customer through Facebook ads is really high. It's not going to work. So based on the product and the features of the product, we have to make sure that we're using the right channel. And also the channel includes where are our users located, right? If we want to reach Gen Z, I'm not going to try and market on Facebook. They're not on Facebook. They're not on Reddit. Do you know who they are? Where they are, not who they are. Do you know where they are? Does anyone want to help? yeah, just trying to break the monologue when I remembered that it's been a monologue for a while now.
Instagram.
When I help, where would we reach Gen Zs right now? Which social channel?
Instagram.
Exactly. Instagram, most likely TikTok. Like the Gen Zs I know on Instagram, they're using it, I'm calling it the wrong way. Like they don't have any photos on their profile. They maybe just have some highlights. Their profile is locked. Hell, like I know people that have a second profile that's kind of like all access, or it's like a locked version, and they have like 20 followers or 50 followers because they use it like a completely different way. And obviously they're on TikTok, right? So understanding your users and understanding what you're selling means you have to use specific channels. If I want to sell to B2B, if I want to sell to other businesses, I have to be on LinkedIn and Twitter right now, literally. And this is what I'm focused on building my content, because I sell to other businesses. So my number one channel is LinkedIn. I literally got a request yesterday because of the content I've been producing for like a month and a half, no more than that, of, you know, mediocre quality so far, like we're getting there. And I got a response because it's a channel where they are. So product market fit is number one, like having a product that solves a specific market's needs, and then having a product that based on the product, we know where the market is and we use the right channel for the market. The next one is, you know, what is a market? It's market model fit. So what is a market willing to pay? That's the model. It's like the pricing model. What is the market willing to pay for what we're offering, for the product that we're offering them, for the solution that we're offering them? So if I'm taking you from A to B, how much is this worth to you? And if I'm taking you a specific way, someone will pay for a flight $100 and fly in economy. Someone might pay for the exact same flight $600 for not that many changes just to be able to fly on business class. I don't get it, but there's people on business class, so you know, someone's buying those seats, right? So, you know, we have to understand the market, and then we have to understand what are they willing to spend on it. And then the model, the pricing model, what we charge also has to do with the channels we use. And channels we use is literally how do we go to market. Channel might be LinkedIn, might be Facebook, might be having a marketing team, or having a sales team. Like if you're selling to businesses, chances are at some point you'll have to build a sales team, and it might be actually one of the first things you do. You might not even do marketing. You might actually focus on sales as a way to go to market. So, you know, what you sell, whom you sell to, or what you charge them for it, also determines what channels you use to go to market. So these are the 4 types of fits you have to get and you have to get to in order for your business to actually succeed, in order for it to be able to scale. So that's that. I don't want to bore you with a lot more things. The idea for product market fit and going to market is go to market fast, fail fast, because as I said, you won't have the solution from the start, but it's okay as long as you keep trying, gather feedback, update your USP, update the USP's unique selling point, like what's the number one thing you're helping them do, and then launch again and relaunch and do that until you're able to go to the state what we call product market fit. And then, you know, if and when you build your first landing page, the first version of your website, there's a really good test that I think everyone should be running that helps you determine if what you've built actually uses the right language and talks to your ideal audience. It's a test called the 5-second test, in which you actually show someone who hasn't seen your business or your website before, you show them your website, you give them 5 seconds, you close the laptop, you close the website, and then you ask them, what is this website about? What is it selling? Whom is it selling to? And based on the quality of answers you get, sometimes the answers you get might be really off. You understand whether you have product market fit or not, and whether you need to redo some part of your messaging in order to be able to better talk to your audience. Yeah, I don't want to bore you with more things unless you have more questions. Retention, again, we touched on it, and there's multiple things as well, but yeah, I want to give you the stage again. We all good?
Yes, seems we don't have any more questions for now.
Then one last note, and then I can leave you with that. So I mentioned before that we don't really know what's going to happen when we go to market, right? We don't really even know if our campaign is going to succeed, whether the campaign is we're talking to these people and we're selling them this product, or whether the campaign is we're running Facebook ads. I'll definitely share the presentation. We're running Facebook ads and the ads don't work because the creative is wrong, or the targeting is wrong, or the copy is wrong. So we don't really know what's going to work. That's the reality of it. And it's the same for every business idea. Unless you try it, you don't really know what's going to work. So the number one thing you have to keep in mind, and probably kind of like which overshadows everything else, is you have to have a specific goal. You as a founder, you have to understand and be really clear about where you want to go with your business and with your startup and why you're doing what you're doing. And then whether it's your marketing, whether it's your positioning or your go-to-market plan, or whether it's the product itself, you actually have to experiment, and experiment as fast as you can. Ideas die all the time. Products have flaws, and it's fine, as long as you don't let that stop you for a long period of time. As long as you're able to go to market, test, get feedback, get back at it, get back at it, fail again, test again, it's never going to work. That's the reality of it. I know it sounds like a haiku. I used to listen to things like that from the other side of the audience, and I don't really know what it made sense, but you'll see for yourself, like when you go out there, the more anxious you're about it, and the more time it takes you to actually go to market, the more time it's going to take you to fail. Whether fail means you stop pursuing that idea, or whether fail means just we have to pivot to a different audience, to a different country, or offer a different solution, or use a different channel to go to market. So the faster you do that, and the faster you get feedback, and the faster you track, the faster you're going to be able to optimize. It's not a coincidence that every athlete has a mentor. Why do they have a mentor? What's the role of sorry, not a mentor, a coach? What's the role of the coach? The role of the coach is to be there, keep track of their times, and give them specific points of feedback that they have to use in order to continue improving. So that's exactly the way you need to be treating things. You need to have your own team to give you feedback. You need to have other people outside of the team to give you feedback. And then you just have to iterate and experiment enough times and do it fast enough so that A, you don't waste your energy, B, you don't waste your budget, and C, you don't get overwhelmed when going to market. So I'm just going to leave you with that. Unless anyone has any more questions, I can definitely send you the slides. I have a ton of slides. I was trying to pick before joining, like which ones it made sense to walk you through. I can definitely send you that, and have a really interesting article for the 4 fits you need, the ones that we discussed. And then anything else you might need, find me on LinkedIn or Instagram. Trying to be a bit more active on LinkedIn, hosting a lot of trainings and a lot of just posting online. Bill Stathopoulos, you'll find me on all different channels. Definitely best of luck with the hackathon. If there's anything I can do to help, or I might be of help, just some feedback on your ideas or anything else, definitely feel free to reach out.
From my side, I would like to thank you very, very much for an excellent presentation. If you've seen the comments on the chat, everyone agrees it was really awesome. Thank you, much appreciated. And the message was loud and clear, right? Go to market fast, fail fast, learn fast, adapt. So
Yeah.
Thank you very much, very much.
It's been a pleasure.
So the floor is now to Minas, who is going to essentially present the teams of the hackathon and the next steps. So Minas, the floor is yours.
Hey everyone again. So a big thanks again to Mr. Kinyas for this introducing workshop to the business model canvas, and of course to Bill Stathopoulos for this excellent, very practical and handy workshop of how to do marketing substantially with zero budget. And now let's get to the voting of ideas. So to make a recap of the last bootcamp, each of you posted an idea on our Discord server, and you voted by clicking a like button. I'm gonna share it with you. So I'm opening this Discord server. I'm also sharing with you the invitation link in the chat in the Zoom for anyone who hasn't already joined. And let's get to what comes next. So, as I said the last time, you posted quite many ideas about green and blue economy, sustainability, and creative communities. And our mentors and stakeholders of this ERUA hackathon took them into their minds and built them into bigger ideas. They grouped them basically into thematics. So the thematics they built, including including the submitted ideas of yours, are Nomad School, here with a description of that one project, Project Aware, that includes some points, some description, and also we have some more material for you to check, like here. For this one, for example, you can take some text, a PPT, and a video presentation. Project Wasteland, which includes and incorporates the parts of the ideas you submitted before. Good Mood for Food. Likewise, it incorporates parts of the ideas you submitted. I see Mikal raising his hand. So, yes, Mikal?
Yes, I have wanted to ask you because I was asking in the chat for like 2 or 3 days in a row, and no one have replied to me on the server. But that's one thing. But then I want to ask the idea that you have right now in front of you, the culture, nature culture and tourism. Is it the one that was supposed to be with the reward that we were presenting today, or is it some kind of different idea? Because then I think it was a bit misunderstood regarding the reward, like rewarding or claiming the awards from from the bigger perspective. And
Got it. Got your question. So, to answer it as much as I can, the process is that the ideas you submitted in the previous round, in the first bootcamp, have been taken in the mind of our stakeholders and mentors, and they decided to group them into bigger categories to give a bigger diversity of ideas and representation of subjects. So right now, what happens in this second bootcamp is that you can vote at the list of all these ideas. The way you can vote is that each one of you have one single heart, one double heart, and one triple heart. So you can click at each of these buttons, total only once. Let's say I can only click this one with the the 3 hearts once. So the 3 hearts means that I love this project. I like it very, very much. Very, very, very much, maybe. With the double, it means you like it very, very much. And with the 1, you like it just very much. So accordingly to the hertz, the mentors and the stakeholders will group you into teams, and they will give you the project to build. So again, you have you can use just one of each a single time. So in total, you can vote 3 projects. So I think I have answered to your question. And after you have voted during this second bootcamp, the mentors and stakeholders will group you into teams. And until by May 20th, you will be able to create the teams and to present a plan, and we will send you more instructions later.
And if I can also just add one thing.
Yeah.
We were discussing with one other guy, which was here last time, Oliver, and he unfortunately couldn't attend today. And so we were already discussing this business idea or this project with him as well. And he would be also down for that project, just as a note. I mean, he cannot vote right now as he's not here, but
Cool. The voting will remain open. Okay. So during the whole weekend, you will be able to vote, and anyone who isn't on this call will be able to vote. So continuing, we have this project called nature, culture, and some description here too. And we have also, lastly, the voice of islanders. So please get on the Discord, vote each one of these, and not each one, you can vote just 3 projects. And remember to place here in the username in Discord your real name, to be able to be identified by the mentors, so they will be able to process into building the teams. So if you have any more questions, I will be very happy to answer to you. You can also check the link of Discord, the invitation link in the chat. So if there is no other question, I think we can sum up here the second bootcamp. We are waiting for you to vote. For any more information, you can also reach us to the server, and this time I will be able to check again all the questions. You can also ask the mentors here. And we added this channel, Traveling Mobility's Participation Host, to be able to ask for questions regarding your travel to HEOS. So anything logistic issue, you can post right here. So thank you again for this great bootcamp. We had as mentors Mr. Ioannis Kinias and Bill Stathopoulos, and this will be also available recorded on the ERUA Hackathon site. Thank you again. Oh, Mikhail, we have another question.
Yeah, I also just wanted to ask, so if because the maximum number of people in one team, it's 5, right?
Yeah, teams will be from 3 to 5 persons.
Yeah. And so what will happen if, for example, I don't know, 6, 7 people will be voting for one project?
The mentors will break each project into a team up to 5 persons, and they will do it accordingly to the emoji, the version of the hearts each participant voted. For example, if you vote a project that has that many votes with 1 heart, it's most possible for you to and if you vote another project with 3 hearts, as an example, this one, you will be transferred to this one because you saw that you love it much more than the other, so you are transferred to that one.
Mm-hmm. And then also just regarding those questions that I was asking in the chat, is there any answer to that now, or?
So let me check the questions. So hello everyone. Nice. Okay. So in the weekend, during the weekend, the mentors will be able to break the voting into teams. So we are waiting for the results, and you will be informed via Discord and via email.
Okay, perfect. Okay, then I guess it will be that it is answered now.
Nice. So if anyone else has more questions, please don't hesitate. And thank you again, everyone. Thank you, the mentors, and thanks the moderators for participating here in the ERUA Hackathon second bootcamp. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Minas. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.